Hello property people. I get asked an awful lot of questions about how to buy property in Scotland. Specifically people from England moving up to Scotland, relocating, retiring, living up here. So I thought I'd do a Q&A on how to move to Scotland from England. This also applies if you're living in Wales or Northern Ireland. The legal system there, I believe, is all similar. The legal system in Scotland is completely different. Those that have experienced both tell me that the Scottish system is much better in so much as it's a lot quicker and a lot more certain. There's a lot more certainty when you do actually get the offer accepted in Scotland. I'll put that in numbers. Our offer accepted to getting the keys handovers a 96% success rate. My colleagues in England, I'm hearing it's low in some areas, is 40-45% success rate of offer accepted to then actually doing a deal and moving out of the property. So I've got 5 or 6 questions that I regularly get asked, and I'll put these to you and I'll give you my take on the answers. I get this asked an awful lot. How does the pricing system work in Scotland? You see offers over, you see fixed price, you see offers in the region of. Legally, I'm duty bound to tell any seller of a buyer's offer, regardless of if it's 50 pence or £1 million or anywhere in between for any property. So I'm duty bound to put any offer to a buyer. I'm also duty bound by the Estate Agents Act to find out what status the buyer is in, i.e. sold, not sold on the market, under offer, exchanged. All that information I put to the seller to come back with a response. Offers over, to put it in numbers, in 2010, just during the financial crisis of 2007-8, 2010 we were selling properties on average 15% below asking price, and at that point it took 53 weeks to sell a property on average. Wind forward to July 2022, we were selling on average 11% over, and the time to sell was 9 days in that particular year on average. Crazy. It was just far too fast. And all that's really changed is demand. At that point in 2010, the demand was such that there was very, very few buyers about and lots of sellers. Therefore, the prices were dictated by the buyer, low. Winding forward to when we're getting 11% over on average, what changed? Lots of buyers. Therefore, they were competing with each other to get a particular property, giving us 11% over. Currently, we're sitting around about, from asking price up to about 2.5-3% at the moment. The market's certainly quieting down a bit. I'm filming this autumn, and the market certainly has calmed down a little bit. But fixed price, so if you see offers over, the seller expects over the asking price. Us as agents, part of our job is to inform the sellers of what we're at on average in the market. Just had a property on today, I think it was on at 170, and we've got 175 for it. Sellers delighted, buyers delighted. Let's shake hands and move on. So offers over encourages price over the asking price. Doesn't stop a buyer coming in at any price. So on that particular instance, if we'd maybe come in at 165, my job as an agent is to try and negotiate that price as high as we can. And we've settled at 175 in this particular instance. My view is that if 165, the seller's happy and the buyer is happy, I always go and ask for more because that's the nature of the business. But let's say we settle at 167, 500, and that allows the seller to move on in their lives, then let's shake hands at that and get on with it. You also have to look at how many other viewings are lined up to view a particular property. That's always a good gauge of how much interest there is in any given property. Fixed price is what it says, fixed price. Typically, a fixed price would come after maybe a period of marketing that there's been very little success, either in the offers that we'd be getting aren't big enough, or the particular seller circumstances are such that they just need to move on. So a fixed price is, as it says, first come, first served with a clean offer. Offers in the region of, a bit more vague, doesn't really mean much. All it really means to the buyer, I think, is the seller's willing to negotiate on price. But yeah, all offers that come in, I'm duty bound to put to the seller. My duty of care is for the seller. I will do my very best, as all agents do, to get the best price for them. So yeah, offers over, fixed price, offers the region of, guide price. It's really offering the buyer the opportunity to offer on a property, and demand takes it above or below that particular price. So another question I get an awful lot is, what is the home report and where does it fit in the process? The home report was introduced in December the 12th, 2008, and it was designed to stop multiple buyers buying surveys on a single property. The idea being that the seller now buys the survey, if you like, on the property and gives it out to buyers as they require it. Within the home report is the mortgage valuation, the survey, the valuation of the property from a mortgaging point of view. There's an energy performance certificate, there's a single survey, there's a condition report, which I always look at, 29 I think it is, categories that give a good condition of the property. And the really good bit at the back of the home report is the questionnaire that the owner fills in to describe who supplies the electricity, the water supply, any planning consent that's been granted nearby that affects the property. So that's where it fits in. It allows the buyer not to have to go and spend, in some cases back then, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds on getting a survey done on the property, but maybe not being successful buying the property. So that's where that fits in. In England, I believe there was HIPS home information packs that they were up and running until I think it was 2010, and the Tory government got in and decided to not have them down in England. But that's where they fit in, and it does give an awful lot of information to the buyer before they actually offer. Solicitors, can you use an English solicitor to buy a property in Scotland? No. There is one company I'm aware of that have got branches in England, but that's the only one I've ever come across in my 30 odd years doing this. So no, you need a Scottish solicitor. The English system and the Scottish system are completely different. They're like oil and water, they just don't mix. So yes, you do need a Scottish solicitor in place. How do you find a Scottish solicitor? Generally speaking, recommendations, I recommend, I've got a panel of 5 solicitors on my panel. We're giving probably 300-400 sales to them a year. The return to us is good service. So I'm happy to recommend that. But I would certainly go on recommendation from a solicitor. I hear some horror stories of fees. We charge a fee, obviously, but I hear some stories of solicitors trying to charge 2 and 3 times what we charge, we being the panel of solicitors I use. So yeah, get recommendations for solicitors. The other I get quite a lot, and it's quite pertinent. I've just had an interesting case. Given we live miles away, and it's very difficult to view, what can we do to find out more about an area or a community? Just sold a house to a couple in Maine, just north of New York. They haven't viewed it. But what they've done is looked at our videos. Obviously, we do videos. There's very few agents that do videos like we do. That's a great way to get a really good feel of the property. Google Earth? or Google Maps. You can walk around an area very easily online. What I recommend people to do is go onto Facebook, and I'll just use the village I live in is Och. Go onto Facebook and join as many community groups within Och that you can find on Facebook. I would suggest you have a look and see what comments are made generally about anything. We joke in my little village, if you hear a siren, it's because somebody's dropped some litter. But you can go to certain other areas that I won't name obviously here, that they're, maybe in Inverness City itself, in certain areas there, and all you hear in the comments is there was police around again. So you can learn an awful lot from what people put on Facebook about groups of particular areas. That's a really good way to find out what's actually going on in your area, in the area you might wish to come and live in. So I always recommend people do that if they're far away. I got quite a lot of phone calls. I think it was down in England somewhere. They reached, was it 41 degrees or something like that? And I got regularly phone calls or emails asking what's the weather like up there. I actually spoke to a climate specialist, and he was calling these kind of people relocating away from England at that point climate refugees, I think he termed them. The weather in Scotland is 4 seasons, but you don't get them all at the right time. You get them at different times. I've never lived anywhere other than Scotland. My wife, however, spent an awful lot of time on the south coast. Her comments are she misses the consistent warmth down there. It rains more up here. There's snow, obviously. Depends where you go. In my 38 years, I've only ever once got stuck in snow, and bear in mind I'm out on the road all the time in the Highlands, so you just get used to it. I suppose, if I was going to the south of Spain to live, then I'd get rid of my jumpers, my hats, and put my shorts and my t-shirt on. So the weather is what you get used to. One thing that I have noticed, I've got cousins live down the south, the daylight hours are a lot longer in the summer, in so much as you can actually go outside at 2 in the morning and still be able to read a book. Equally in the winter, I think that some parts of the Highlands there's as low as 6 hours a day of daylight, so you have to get used to the daylight being shorter in the winter. But you know, weather's weather. As Billy Connolly said, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes or inappropriate clothes. So there's a good half dozen questions I get fairly regularly. I've got some top tips of my own. Get buyer ready. By that I mean, in certain instances, more and more, sellers are declining viewings for people that aren't on the position to offer. That typically happens when there's maybe 10 viewing requests on one property. Why would you have 3 or 4 people viewing it that are not even in a position to offer? A bit like going around Tesco's with your trolley, filling it up as much as you can get into it, getting to the till and saying, sorry, I've got no money. So get buyer ready. What I mean by that is, if you are going to be moving to the north of the country, to Scotland, get your property on the market, get it under offer, get it sold. Do your research as to where you want to live. You can offer on any property anytime. My experience, very, very few sellers will accept an offer unless you've exchanged in England. The odd occasion that if you've got an offer accepted in England and you're heading towards exchange and there's no chain in so much as maybe a first-time buyer's buying your property, there may be the odd occasion that a Scottish seller will accept that, but you need really to be exchanged before your offer be fully accepted. We would then at that point take the property in Scotland off the market and it's yours from there. We just get the legal work done there. Also, if you've sold and you're wanting to offer, let's say you've rented a cottage somewhere, waiting to find your right property, you've got money in the bank, make sure you've got your solicitor in place. And the reason I say that is that our solicitors are different. The ones that are on our panel will turn around an offer within half a day. A lot of the local solicitors still work on timescales that are years out of date. You might maybe not get an appointment to go and see a solicitor for 3 days. Those 3 days could be the difference between somebody else buying the property you want. So I would advise you to get your solicitor in place. Equally, if you need a mortgage, get your mortgage in place or agreement in principle so you're ready to go. Do your research. I quite often, maybe 5-6 times a year, see somebody that bought maybe 2 years ago and they haven't fitted into the community. They don't enjoy the area they're in. And that's typically because maybe they didn't do the research. Maybe they're elderly, maybe they didn't realise that there's a 100-mile round trip to get to the Raigmore Hospital, for example. So do your research before you just go and buy. Just because a property looks cheap and looks affordable and looks cute, there are issues attached to that, not least of which services and amenities might be a long, long way away. On that point, yeah, I mean, I often advise if you're really coming up here, you've decided to move up here, rent somewhere up here allows you to two things: really explore and get to know an area and do proper research, get involved in the community, see what's around to do in the community, and also when you find the property for you, you're then in a position to offer with nothing to sell. That makes you a very, very good buyer. Make friends with people like me. I'm forever emailing back and forth people asking bits of advice and bits of help. Make friends with agents that are selling properties. Keep an eye on Facebook pages, on all the websites, Rightmove, Zoopla. But equally, a lot of the little solicitors that are not on Rightmove, they don't go on there. So look at just little solicitors' company websites and see what they've got to offer. But yeah, make friends with the agents up here, because friendliness goes an awful long way. And if you want some help, just ask for it. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that I get fairly regularly. I'm sure there's questions I've missed out. If there's any particular questions I've missed out and you want answered, please put in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching.